Hello and welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast with your host, metaphysician, Reiki master, and hypnotherapist, Christy Clemens Hoffman. Each week, we will discover teachings, tips, and tools to radiate your best life ever with practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate?
Hello and welcome back to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. Today, we have return guest Carmen Turner Schott to radiate astrological healing. And this is going to be a very fascinating subject, I think. Carmen Turner Schott is a practicing licensed clinical social worker, astrologer, writer, and teacher with a national and international clientele. She is the author of The Mysteries of the 12th Astrological House, Fallen Angels, which we talked about some time ago here on this show, and Sun Signs, Houses, and Healing. Build resilience and transform your life through astrology, which we're going to be talking about today. Welcome back, Carmen. It's nice to have you back again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You know, the last time we talked about the 12th house, which is kind of our service and our empathy house. It can be difficult for some. So I feel like that episode was all about emotional healing and spiritual healing. Today, we're talking about something different. So astrological healing, how does that even work?
Yes. So when I started researching astrology and in my counseling practice and just with people throughout the years, I realized that each sign has special strengths and traits that help them become more resilient, and also different tips and things that work for self-care and healing. And so each sign's very unique, as you know, with their personality traits, different talents, different weaknesses, different emotional strengths. And so I started researching it, and I really wanted to put it into writing, what I've seen with Aries through Pisces, you know, all the signs of the zodiac, and into a book with some tips for how to transform, how to heal, and how to self-care and become more resilient for each sign. So each sign has its own chapter in the book that they can read and learn about each other. And you can also read about your loved ones and your children or your family and friends, and see what tips for relationships are in there, how to help them heal and things like that.
Right. Now, this book covers the self-care aspect, which is absolutely physical. What about like physical healing of illness, disease, injury, that type of thing?
Yes. So in astrology, you know, each sign represents a different part of the body. And this kind of goes back to Hippocrates, you know, the father of medicine. In old medical books, you'll see an image of the human body with the symbols of the zodiac on each area. You know, Aries rules the head and face, so you'll see the ram. Taurus is the neck. You know, Gemini is the hands and the respiratory system. Cancer's the stomach. Scorpio's the sexual organs and the reproductive system, and Libra's the kidneys in the back, and Leo is the heart in the back. You know, Aquarius is the circulatory system, Pisces is the feet, right? So the symbols of the health conditions, I guess, let me say this, the parts of the body where we're most vulnerable really have to do with your sun sign, because your sun sign is your main personality. And so you're going to have a certain area that I'm going to say is weak, but that's where you'll tend to manifest illness, physical illness, when you get stressed, when you get emotionally overwhelmed and things like that. And then we always want to look at like the 6th house of health in someone's natal chart as well, to see what planets are there, what energies are there, because a lot of things affect health. But for the purpose of this book, we can talk the basics, which would be just looking at each sun sign and what area they represent. And that's where people tend to, you know, reveal to me, I get headaches, you know, I get migraines, or I clench my jaw, or I've had all these jaw surgeries. And I just started collecting research, and realize, wow, a lot of people that are Taurus sun or have a lot of Taurus energy get the jaw issues, and things like that, and the neck and the shoulder stress. They tense up, and then Aries gets headaches, and migraines specifically, and ear infections, things like that can be associated. The brain, anything with the brain is Aries, right? So, and I really started researching this. So it's been interesting. So in the book, I talk about the part of the body, you can read in each chapter what part of the body rules each sign, and different things that might help them, like getting a massage or going, exercising, meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, different things that each sign can do to help relieve that tension and that stress that in that area of the body.
That is so interesting. So, I mean, like, why does this work? Why? It's so interesting that
It is.
Different signs and planets govern each part of the
Yes.
body.
It's energy, and that's why astrology is a science. It's so accurate. It's just amazing. And there's been times where someone will just tell me their sun sign, and and I can say, do you have sensitivities in these areas? They're like, yes. How did you know that? I get like Cancer, they get stomach things, Virgos get
Right.
ulcers and stomach acid reflux, just different things like that when they get stressed out, or when they they don't have a good balance, and they don't express emotions. When we repress emotions, it manifests in the body. I think it really connects to other things that in the spiritual realm and healing realm, the mind body connection. The mind body spirit connection is the same in astrology as well, but it's just that each sign has certain vulnerabilities, and it goes back to Hippocrates. He used to say that a physician without a knowledge of astrology wasn't a physician but a fool. There's a quote from the father of medicine, right, Hippocrates, that to do true medicine, you have to have a knowledge of astrology. It was connected in history. From the beginning of time, medical science and astrology were one. I mean, it was part of everything that in the history of the world. So a lot of this knowledge goes back to ancient cultures, which is a whole nother radio show. But it's really cool because just I like teaching people the basics, about what astrology is. Why it works is because it's the map of your soul. It's healing. We're a spirit, we're a soul, we're not just a physical body. And so the time, place, and date of your birth and your natal chart, your birth chart, will show everything about your health and different strengths you have to heal, maybe different vulnerabilities like allergies, like having surgery at a young age. All of these things can be seen in a natal chart, in a birth chart. It's amazing. I just started seeing this from the past 25 years I've been doing this. And like, why does it work? People ask me, how did you know that? I'm like, it's your chart. It's the map of your soul. I'm just interpreting what I know, what I see. And lots of research in it, lots of research in it. A lot of people like Aquarius rules the ankles as well. A lot of them sprain their ankles a lot. And they tend to be, tall and lanky, sometimes thin, and they twist their ankle. Pisces can get feet issues, cramps in their feet, or arch issues with their feet, or their feet will hurt, when they're if they're exercising or stressed, they may need a foot massage, right? And I'm trying to think some other signs. Sagittarius is interesting. It rules the hips and the thighs, and a lot of Sages, it rules the liver. So Sages are I always caution them to be careful with any kind of drugs or alcohol that they consume, because their liver is more vulnerable than other signs. And Capricorn, for instance, it's strange, but I've seen it so many times, rules the knees, and the joints, and like arthritis and things like that, the bones. A lot of Capricorns get knee issues, or that's their vulnerable area. I remember my brother was playing basketball in high school, and it was his senior year, and he went up for a layup, and someone, knocked him, and he tore his ACL in his knee.
Ooh.
and he missed the whole season. And then I have a best friend, who's a Capricorn. Her knees always hurt. My daughter has a lot of Capricorn. Her chart, she did ballet and dance, and in her knee, she had something happen where her patellas of her knee was snapped. Her patellas are high. And we never knew it till we took her to the doctor that she has high patellas. And it's something that is rare. And she's double jointed, like her joints
Oh,
can do these tests. It's a certain disease. They call it like, if you're it's like being very limber, you can do, she used to be able to put her foot back behind her head when she all her whole life. Yeah. And so things like that. And so it's interesting that that's Capricorn, the joints, the knees, and the
yeah.
patella, stuff like that. So I just see how accurate it is. It's, and for myself, being a Virgo, my stress area, even when I got the COVID vaccines, it went straight to my stomach. And Virgo rules the stomach is what rules Virgo, the sign. And that's my vulnerable, weak area. And I told the doctor, I ended up having to have some things done because I had an inflammation in my stomach lining, and it was from, I think, just stress and the COVID vaccines. I know it's not, I told the doctor I can't prove it, but I'd never had an issue. It's just like it went straight to my stomach, but that's my weak area,
Yeah. Yeah. I've always thought that because COVID seems like it hits everybody differently. And so, of course, my bailiwick is the energy system, chakras.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, and, according to where we might have a weakness, just kind of like Achilles had a weakness. His only vulnerability was his heel. And that's where he got attacked. So it's kind of like where we have vulnerabilities and, kind of a preponderance to having these things going on. Right.
It's
So
interesting.
do the astrological houses also relate to chakras that you know of?
It's interesting. Not so much in astrology, but in general, yes, I mean, our chakras affect how we heal. And so I do notice, and I did an article about it years ago, there is a certain chakras are more vulnerable for certain signs. So for instance, like Scorpio, when I did Reiki energy healing, a lot of clients I had that were Scorpios suffered from female reproductive issues, either cyst on their ovaries, endometriosis, different things like that. And what the underlying cause was in their chart and in their energy field was repression of emotion and unhealed trauma. And so working with trauma victims, especially sexual abuse, people that have been, traumatized in some way, they tend to carry their unhealed pain in that area of the body. And that's where they need to really heal and to release that so their body can, the mind-body connection. I've noticed that a lot for Scorpio, people with a lot of Scorpio energy or eighth house planets, etc., which I have in some of my other books. But another thing is Taurus. Tauruses rule the throat. So when I would do energy healing or see Tauruses years ago, they would always get sore throats. When they would get sick, it would go straight to their throat and it'd be scratchy, or they get strep throat, or they lost their voice, laryngitis. And a lot of times I'm like, have you been speaking up what you feel, what you think? Well, no, I've been repressing that, right? So that's where it'll manifest in the body. So the signs are related to the chakras, and from what I believe and seen.
Right.
Yes. It's all connected, it's all connected.
It's all connected. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's like all this big wad of string that's all connected. You pull one side and the other side starts to pull. Now I'm listening to this, and I'm a Leo, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, I've got the throat stuff. I've got the reproductive organ stuff. I've got all these other things that are not necessarily related to Leo. And can we have, like, where do our ascendant signs, do our planets, any of that play into it as well?
Definitely. You could spend your whole life learning medical astrology There's so much. It's amazing. There's tons of books. And you can look up different illnesses and it'll tell you what aspects, what planet in the house might cause certain disease. I mean,
Sure.
it's very complex. And so I don't want to confuse everybody, but yes. So we want to look at, of course, the sun, moon, rising sign. You want to look
Right.
at the sixth house, what in the first house as well. First house is your physical appearance, your outer, but the sixth house is health and diet and your physical health. So you want to look at what sign is on the cusp of the sixth house in your chart. There's 12 houses.
Oh,
So
interesting.
you want to look at that, and that often shows me what's going on as well. And then if you have certain planets there, that will intensify, me analyzing a reading about health. Sometimes we don't have planets in the sixth, and that's okay. But typically people that have Neptune, I'll give you an instant. Neptune in the sixth house, when they're born, Neptune's the planet of drugs, medicine, alcohol, addiction, also illusion, secrets, and this mystical kind of hidden secretive energy. So people have illnesses that are hard. No one can figure out what's wrong with them.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
so a lot of people will be misdiagnosed. I always tell people, if I see someone with this placement, specifically Neptune in the sixth, make sure to get second, third, and fourth opinions on any medical issues you have, and to be careful what kind of medications you take, because medicines tend to affect them the opposite way, because it doesn't affect them like most people. And it's really interesting, like if Sudafed is supposed to, make you tired, it'll wake them up and make them hyper and they can't sleep, the opposite effect of medicines. It's really interesting.
Paradoxical. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Paradoxical effect.
Yeah. And typically when they're young, they suffer from allergies and just mystery illnesses that no one could figure out. And they may grow out of it when they get older, but it's something to know. And also, whenever we have a Neptune transit or any transit of any planet through our sixth house of health, that is when we'll have health stuff pop up often. So yes, so I had that when Neptune transited my sixth, which happens for a long time. It's like 12 to 14 years. I mean, it'll be messing with your health house for that long in every area of life, right? And it's a long time transit. So it affects a long period of your life. So when it left my sixth house, it was just a couple years ago, and it went into my seventh. And when it was in my sixth, I had all of these medical issues pop up. I didn't even know I had issues. I went in for some female ultrasound, found out I had gallstones and a cyst on my kidney and all, and I had no idea. I'm okay. It was like all like fluke stuff that it wasn't going to kill me, but I'm like, this is Neptune in my sixth. I was so mad, because it was transiting. And now that it left, I'm okay, but I had to have some surgery. It was all kinds of stuff going on. So I always know what to warn people of that might come, in their life, because it's energy and it's all karma, and it's all about what we're meant to learn and go through.
Yeah. So that would be a good year to put extra money in your HSA account.
Yes. Yes. And to de-stress, and to make sure you're taking care of yourself and taking time off work and eating right, exercise, just being more cautious about your stress levels, because I believe stress is the number one reason that we get sick. And that's where, and a lot of times we don't truly feel things. So we repress our emotions. And I believe the emotions are our moon sign, which is our emotional nature, is a big part of our health as well, and how we express ourselves.
Right. Oh, that is fascinating. I was just kind of sitting here taking notice and reacting a bit when you were talking about, I think it was Neptune in the sixth, where you have these mystery illnesses and get second, third opinions. And then like everything you said was like, oh my gosh, that's me.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It could be, I have to look at your chart and see if you got Neptune, in your sixth or transiting your sixth. Because and this is the thing with transits to know too, is that when a planet first goes into a house is when there's usually something will happen, and
Mhm.
usually and then sprinkled across many years, but then also when it gets ready to leave, often something will happen. So I think back, and when Neptune went into my 6th house, um I found out I had skin cancer on my nose. I had to have surgery.
Oh
I
my
and I just had a little clear dot, like it looked like a little pimple, and it was there for 3 years, and I just kind of ignored it, and I thought, well, it's just not going away, and it kind of, and of all things, the doctor called, the dermatologist, like, I cannot believe I'm having to tell you this. He's like, it's basal cell, it's cancer. You have to come in and get surgery on your nose. I'm like, what? So I did
God.
that. And then, of course, the same year I had a bad mammogram, which it was okay in the end. I had 3 different opinions. And so this is the thing with Neptune. It causes illusion and mystery around health when it's in the 6th.
Oh my God.
You got to
Oh,
be careful. Yes. And don't panic if you do get diagnosed with something. It's typically going to be okay, but you won't know. It's going to be like this feeling of, I can't see clearly. I can't see what's happening. I don't know what's going to happen. That's Neptune. It makes you like it's like a fog, that surrounds our health issues for a while. So
this resonates so much. Yeah, because I get the
yeah,
weirdest physical things. Nobody can figure out
yeah.
what it is, and then it just goes away.
Yes, it could be also, an aspect in your chart.
Sure.
We look at our birth chart, Neptune could be, aspecting your sun, or it could be the transit of Neptune hitting with something in your chart. We look at everything as astrologers, but I try to teach astrology on a basic level because I don't want to confuse people. But like I said,
Right, right, right.
medical astrology, I could spend a lifetime and I still wouldn't know it all. It's so in depth and amazing. Like there's so many types of astrology that you can
Right.
learn and teach yourself. It's just a never ending hobby. I'm always learning something new as well and studying different things. So
Right. No, it's a huge and vast thing.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
going to be interviewing Mitchell Lewis, who's a
Okay.
medical astrology.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, upcoming. Yeah, so that'll
Oh,
be
that's
interesting.
good.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And that's just it. I've had many astrologers on the show, just like you, but
sure.
everybody has a different specialty, it seems,
Yeah,
right? And
definitely.
everybody brings something a bit different. What I like about your work is that you really break down each house and you talk about everything having to do with
Yeah.
that. And then this healing book I thought was just wonderful. But you break it down for people. This is what houses are, folks. This is what
Yes.
the planets are and what they rule and what they govern. So it's kind of a tutorial as well. At least the beginning of the book is a tutorial.
Yes, it's for
Really.
any beginner and anyone that's seasoned as well, to really understand the basics of all the signs and how to do your natal chart, how to look it up. What are the planets? What are their
Yeah.
meanings? It's like 3 books in one, really. Because you get the intro, which is all about everything, and then you get into each chapter of each sign.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And so what's also interesting is just how we map this out before we're even born
Yes.
and map it out as we're being born.
Yes, it's well, in astrology, not every astrologer believes this, but most do. They believe that we live many lifetimes. That
Yeah.
and so that's a big thing in astrology when we look at our charts, is that it's all about karma.
Hmm.
And having planets, like we talked about on the last interview, in the 12th house,
Hmm.
that's the house of karma. And
Hmm.
so it's lessons we have to learn. And it's the same for when we choose to be born. We choose to come at a certain time, place, pick our parents, all of that kind of thing. I believe to master what God and what our soul came here to learn, and
Right.
to go through in different experiences. And I do believe some things are destined to happen no matter what we do. And then we also have free will and choice. So, astrology's fact, but there's no greater power over man than his own will, is what Edgar Cayce said. And I love Edgar Cayce because he talked a lot about astrology and health as well in his readings, and the connection between all of this stuff in his readings. And he was a preacher, he was a pastor, and started getting, healing information to help people heal from diseases and illnesses, is how he started. So I researched a lot of his stuff too.
Yeah, I'm reading his book on healing. Fascinating stuff, right?
Yes.
Trans channel. I'm hoping to find somebody who is an expert on Casey to talk about his work. But yeah, it's I love how all of these things just completely overlap. It is so cool. All these things inform each other.
Yes.
Something that I talk to people about is, and I think you've pretty much answered not my question, but you confirm this, that we'll often have one thing that we're working on health-wise in our life, one primary thing. Like mine is throat chakra.
Yeah.
Got Hashimoto's, got neck problems. My teeth didn't fill in correctly, so I had to have fillings. Just like allergies, shoulders, like all of the throat things. So do you find that as well, that people usually have kind of one chakra, one area that they're on?
Yes. Typically, it's the throat, the heart, and the lower chakra, the basal.
The root.
Sacral. Yeah, the root. It's survival and like just those very intense emotions and life experiences we don't always know how to handle, like loss of a loved one, losing someone we love, heartbreak, betrayal, all those things, having to forgive, that holding on to unforgiveness is kind of the lower chakras, I find. And I feel like the throat chakra, I get that once in a while as well. I think it has to do with speaking what you really think and feel. And I know I like to avoid conflict, and I like to be a peacemaker. So if I don't speak what I really feel, I'll get a sore throat. And let me give you an example. Before I got COVID, I was at a work conference, and I think I had to reschedule because of it with you, because I got sick. But I had it was a very stressful week, let me just say, traveling, and people were tense. And I remember saying to my coworkers, we said, we're not going to speak. We're not going to say a word. We're just going to listen, because we felt like when we speak up, we're not valued, or they didn't listen to what we said. It was just kind of the vibe we've had this year, right, at work.
Yeah.
So we all were quiet, and we look across the room at each other, and I was a lot quieter than I typically am. But by Friday, the tension had built up so much, the emotions, and people were crying, people were angry, venting to me after the when we went to dinner, and so I was absorbing everybody's negativity, right? And by Friday I finally spoke up, and I kind of felt like I kind of got yelled, they didn't like it, let me just say that I said what I was said. And then I shut down, and so then I flew back, and the day I got home from the airport, it went straight to my throat. It felt like a cotton ball right here. And I thought, oh my gosh, am I getting like strep throat? And I started losing my voice. I got laryngitis. And I thought, well, maybe that's weird. And I was still kind of going Saturday. And then I woke up Sunday, and a coworker called and said they tested positive for COVID, and they were on the trip with me. I said, oh no. And it was in my lungs when I woke up. So it went from throat to lung quick. And I tested positive for COVID. I was out for like 2 weeks. I really 3-4 weeks before I felt normal. But I was very sick for about a week, and it went straight to my throat. That's what it typically does when you don't speak what you think and feel,
Exactly. Well, yeah, COVID's just the gift that keeps on giving. Everybody gets it differently. You can, if you're having like 6 and 7 chakra issues, you'll have the brain fog and headache really bad. Throat chakra, you get a sore throat. The heart chakra, breathing problems, and even blood clots and things like that. It hits everybody differently, which is interesting.
Do you have any Taurus in your chart?
Yeah.
Okay. That could be, that's the throat. That's the throat.
That's the throat.
And see, I'm a South Node Taurus. North Node
Okay.
Scorpio. So, I do think, I like to look at the nodes as well when we look at different illnesses, because the South Node is what we've already mastered, and whatever sign it is in our soul. We have mastered that sun sign, right? Traits and
Mhm.
energies. And
Yeah.
so for me, I mastered being a Taurus. And so I meant to leave that behind and become a Scorpio. But I find that I do get a lot of Taurus, you know, neck, shoulder tension. Always, it's in here. Always need it when I
Yeah.
get a massage in the head, and I got a lot of Aries, so I get headaches.
Yeah.
Did you know that Radiate Wellness is more than just a podcast? That's right. We're also a comprehensive holistic wellness practice. Find out about our services, practitioners, and upcoming events at radiatewellnesscommunity.com. While you're there, visit our podcast page to read more about our great guests and even donate to the podcast. If you like our podcast, you can help in other ways as well, like subscribe or follow us wherever you're listening right now. Tell a friend, a family member, or a coworker about the great content you find here. And if you wouldn't mind, please give us a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, or a positive review. Sounds like a small thing, but it really helps. You might like to know about our Facebook communities while we're at it. We have a free community, the Radiate Wellness Community, on Facebook for news and great free content. Our subscribers group is Radiate You, as in the letter U, but also, well, you. There you'll find curated replays of past classes, guest interviews, and more. And now, back to our podcast and back to our guest.
Yeah,
So,
things like
okay,
that.
dumb question. What is a node?
Okay, so in astrology, we calculate a different mathematical things, but it's the nodes of the moon is what we call it, and they look like little horseshoes. So if you look at your chart, it looks
Huh.
like a horseshoe with two little circles, and then there's an upside down one, and then a right side up one. And the upside down one is your past lives. It's what you've mastered in other lifetimes, what your soul has already learned. And that's where we feel most comfortable. So as we get older, we don't even start moving towards our North Node until after our first Saturn return, which happens at age 27 to 30. And after we turn 31, we start feeling the pull of the North Node sign, because we're living in the past, feeling all cozy and comfortable. But the universe and God said, nope, you have to become the North Node. So for me, I had to learn to let go of my need for comfort and stability and things to be cozy, and accept change into my life and unexpected loss. Unfortunately, I've lost a lot of people close to me at an early age. And so that's that North Node Scorpio, death, rebirth, transformation, healing, that I have to embrace as I get older. And our whole life, when I look at someone's chart, when they're young, I always love to see charts of people that are older, like 65, 70, because they're in their node. And when I tell them, like, did you go through this? They're like, absolutely, that was my life. And I became a totally different person. And now, and I see them doing their soul mission, which is your North Node. And we get there no matter what. It's amazing. Like every chart I do, everyone I meet, you will get to your soul mission, either kicking or screaming, or through learning and trying to master the traits of your North Node is what I advise people. Like in my book, if you do your chart and you see your North Node is Cancer, read everything you can about Cancer. Or if it's Virgo, read everything you can in the book about Virgo and master those traits, and let go of the traits of the South Node sign, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it sounds like astrology just like kind of charts your
It does.
adulthood,
It does. It's
right?
birth to death. And like
Yeah.
let me tell you, like the Saturn return is connected to your soul mission and which is your North Node in your chart. So this planet Saturn, it takes it 27 to 30 years to return to where it was when you were born. So when you're born, it takes it all those years to go through all the 12 houses back to where it was when you were born, the day, time, and year. And we call that's around age 27 to 30. So if you talk to people, it's amazing. Age 27 to 30 is usually a very difficult time in people's lives. And there's certain things that most people all go through during this age period. And it's, you get married, you get divorced, you graduate from college, you start a job, you have a baby, you move across the world, you know, you lose your job, you change your career, you get out of college, you go back to college, you know, there's all divorce, all these things, right, happen during that age period. And it's so amazing when I talk to people, what happened to your Saturn return? They said they'd start naming it, health issues, you know, and what it is, it's after they turn 31, it's like a weight's lifted off our shoulders. We all have it, you know. Before I turned 30, my daughter was born, right? And when my husband, he's 5 years older, when we got married, he was in his Saturn return. When I had my daughter, I was in my Saturn return. So I see this with everyone. To me, it's a science. I can't explain why, but it is that way for everyone. And so then, you know, you're moving towards your North Node for the first time in your life. And then guess what? 30 years later, when you're about, you know, 60 let's see here, 58, 57 to 60, 61, you're in your second Saturn return. So the second time around, and by that time, most people are already in their North Node doing what their soul mission is and why they came here.
Wow.
And they tell me, I'm already doing that, Carmen. Yes, you're right. I'm writing, or I'm teaching, or I'm traveling, or I married somebody after I was afraid of commitment. You know, there's all these things, and we're in it, and we get in it by the time we're 61.
Wow.
Yeah. And if you live long enough, like my great grandmother, she had 3 Saturn returns. You know, some people, if you live into your 90s, you'll have a 3rd Saturn return. And everyone on earth goes through this, everyone. And they don't always know what it means. They just know, wow, 27 to 30 was a hard time for me, right? And that's why I said, well, you were in your Saturn return. They're like, what's that mean? So I explained it a little bit. And I'm going to be writing a book actually about the nodes with another author, one of my friends, Bernie Ashman. We're writing a book, Astrology's Magical Nodes of the Moon, and it's about the North and South Node soul mission, each sign, each house they're in, and we're working on that now. Yeah, so it'll
be super helpful.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I mean, we see this across, yeah, I think people don't always know what's going on, but you know,
sure.
After 30, you start to find yourself. After 60, you're comfortable with yourself.
Yeah.
All of these things, just we kind of think of it as, oh, that's just growing older. But no,
these are cycles, astrological cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they talk about, you'll hear a lot about the 7-year cycle, you know, like every 7 years, where they say our physical body, our cells, everything changes, you know, and especially like in Eastern astrology, it's a little different than Western. They, especially like, you know, Chinese astrology, they talk about the cycles, you know, the different 7-year cycles. There's a lot of different things you can study that are all related, you know, and
it all,
it's interesting.
It is. And it all just like flows together seamlessly. All of these things should tie together almost as though that there was a plan.
Yes. Yes, there is. I do believe that. And even twins can have a different chart, a different moon sign, a different rising, depending on the time. And they can have a very different, even a house might just shift the node into a different house, but twins might have a very similar chart. But some twins, I've done charts for twins, have a very different emotional nature and a different house that their soul mission is in. Even though it's the same sign, they have a different mission. And like, you know, like babies, like my daughter was supposed to be born in October or September, October. And she was born end of August. She was very early, and it was emergency kind of thing. And she was meant to be a Virgo, not a Libra, right? And but that happens a lot. People tell me that, yeah, my daughter came early or late. You know, And I feel like at times that's because, they, God knows best when we're supposed to be coming into the earth realm from the spiritual realm, because I believe we were souls before we came here. And that's what astrology shows, is our past, our learning, what we've mastered, and our gifts, and what we're meant to master this time.
What about people who are born like planned, that they're scheduled, their birth is scheduled?
Yeah,
Does that affect things?
I think that if that's what happens, it's meant to. They're meant to.
I kind of think so too.
I feel like there's no coincidences. Like, I'm very into destiny, and I've just seen enough and experienced enough in my life that I do believe that there's a reason that things happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I kind of think so too. Yeah, this is my daughter. My daughter is adopted.
Okay.
And that was the plan, that she was going to be induced on a certain date.
Sure.
And, the astrologers I know said, oh, that's going to be, it's going to be tough for her chart. And I thought, God knows what he's doing or they're doing,
Yeah, it's meant to be.
So, yeah, I do believe that there is a plan for all of this, even if someone is an induced birth, or if they're really late and, they should have been born 2 or 3 weeks already and they're still hanging in there. There's a plan for that, right?
Yes.
Interesting. So how can somebody use astrology for their healing? I mean, there's understanding that I've got this tendency, but how can they use that for their healing?
Yeah. So, let me talk about Aries, for instance. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. Aries is known to be impatient. They're known to be impulsive, rash, little bit of a temper. Okay. They get angry, but once they, let it out, then they feel better and they're over it. They get over things quick. The problem is they can have a lot of unhealthy, conflict ridden relationships with people because of their strong, passionate, courageous, blunt, straightforward nature. Some people take offense, right? And so they are meant to learn patience, and to think before they speak, and to slow down a little bit, because they're go, they're action oriented people. And so by learning some of those opposite traits of their opposite sign, Libra, because that's their polar opposite, which is all about compromise, peacefulness, balance. Yeah, they will actually heal a lot of areas of their life when they balance their polar opposite traits with their normal sun sign traits, if that makes sense. So in the book, I talk about each sign and what their polar opposite sign is. And the reason I do is because that is the sign that helps us heal and balance more of the difficult traits that our sun sign has. So, like, for instance, Virgo, we're worriers. Virgos are worriers. They like to control things. They're analytical. They get in their head too much in their mind, and they overthink. Their opposite sign is Pisces, which are spiritual, easygoing. They trust the universe kind of vibe, right? Artistic, creative. And so when Virgos learn to take on some of those Pisces traits of having faith and letting things go, and believing in a higher power to help them, they can heal a lot of the negative personality traits that get them stressed, and obsessive, where they have insomnia and they can't sleep and all this. And an example I give is when my daughter was a baby. It's not in the book, but I should have put it in there. When my daughter was a baby, she was in her crib, and I remember I was so worried about her, because I was afraid of SIDS, and all these things. And I laid in bed worried so much every night. I couldn't sleep because I was worried about my daughter in here in her crib, when I finally put her in her own room. And it finally hit me. I laid there in bed and I thought, I need to be more like a Pisces. This Virgo personality of mine is killing me, right? So I'm like, I have to have faith and trust. And I just released it, and I let go, and I said, God, all I can do is ask you to watch over her protect her, send your angels to guard and protect my child as she sleeps. And I had to let go and have faith and trust that whatever happens is meant to happen. And I have no control over it, right? And
Right.
so those kind of things, when we understand our own personality and our own, I'm going to say weaknesses, our own, traps that we get in, but also our strengths. Because sometimes we do need to be analytical and we do need to be organized and practical and work hard. We need that. But sometimes we need to also let go and have faith and balance those opposite traits. Forgiveness, unforgiveness. So for instance, Taurus and Scorpio are polar opposites. So Tauruses are very, they like peace. They don't like conflict, but they also are strong-willed and very stubborn at times. And when they make their mind up, no one can change it. And Scorpio's a little bit that way, but Scorpios are known to have a hard time forgiving. And Tauruses are easily forgive more easily because they're ruled by Venus and they're all about comfort, harmony, and peace, and everybody, let's get along, right? And Scorpios can learn about forgiveness from those Taurus opposite traits, right? And so we all learn how to balance those traits to heal. And to me, healing is not just about the physical, but it's the mental and emotional too, all three. And energy, like the mind body spirit connection, like we need to heal different levels of our being, like consciousness, so to speak. Like, and when you do the chakras or the energy healing, there's different energy bodies
Right.
that we have. And it's kind of that theory. It's same with astrology, because astrology is energy. We're made up of energy. So that's why the moon affects our emotional nature. And when there's a full moon, people get more emotional, they get more irritable, they have trouble sleeping. There's more arguments, more fights, more people at the police station and the ER, right? During a full moon, because it heightens things. And the moon affects the tides of the ocean. And
Right.
our body's made up of mostly water. Of course, the moon is going to affect people on Earth and animals. And
Mhm.
so it's science. And that's why I love it, because I love learning and I love seeing it in a practical way. I see astrology play out in my life with people every single day. And that's why I love it. I just love it. It's a personality tool. It's a spiritual tool of self-awareness that can help you understand yourself and others on a deeper level. And that's why it's been my passion since I was 16 years old when I first started studying it.
Yeah. How did you first start studying it? I know you told
Yeah.
the story on our other episode,
Did
but
I? Yeah,
you did, but I want to hear it again. And I'm sure there are people listening now
yes.
who have not heard that yet.
So I had a strange experience happen to me when I was a senior in high school with a glowing ball of light in my doorway. It was about the size of a softball, a big glowing orb. And I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I just laid there and watched it. And I had no idea what it was. To this day, I still believe that it was an angel or a spirit guide, and nothing to be afraid of. But, being 16, it was the fear of the unknown. Oh my gosh, what is this? I couldn't move. I couldn't yell for my mother. I lay there for hours. Finally, it released me and I was able to yell for my mother, and she saw it too. So as my witness, she tells everyone, yes, she's telling you the truth. I saw it too. So my mother saw it. And a lot of things that happened to me when I was younger, my mother, my family would say, just your imagination. I was born where I love dreams and dreaming. That's another thing I research a lot is dreams. I've been an avid dreamer, a deep dreamer, and dream interpreter since I was 16. I would dream things that would happen in real life, and
Wow.
no one could ever explain that to me. So I wanted to learn, why am I so different? Why am I not like anyone in my family, right? So I went to this little mystical bookstore and got my first astrology book, and I read about Virgo. And I started doing my chart, and I realized I had a lot of 12th house planets, a lot of 8th house planets, and I started reading what that meant. And for the first time, that validated my personal life and my emotional experiences and the real experiences that I had. And I thought, I got to learn this. This is amazing. And I just spent my life studying it ever since. It's been my passion. It helped me understand myself and other people. And it still does to this day at work. When I meet people, I'm like, yep, they're an Aries. Oh, I know they're a Leo, and I can see their strengths. I can see their personality traits shine through. And I'm able to get along with people in a deeper way because I know their chart. I know their energies, right? Their talents and their strengths. And, I got someone I work with that is just a Leo, very, very good on stage, very good briefer, presenter. And I'm like, if we need to sell anything, you need to be the one up in front of the room, because it's just, that's his gift. And so I try to tell people, this is your strength. You need to do this, oh, you're great at that, try to encourage people to see their strengths and to utilize people in those ways at work and in life.
So you have been studying astrology for a really, really long time now, and you've got the books to prove it. You've published so many books. We've only talked about a couple of them. That would be The Mysteries of the 12th Astrological House, Fallen Angels, and this book we're talking about today, which is Sun Signs, Houses, and Healings, Build Resilience and Transform Your Life Through Astrology. But you also wrote about the 8th astrological house, the planets, through a practical look at the planets through the houses, deeper look at the sun signs, astrology from a Christian perspective. That is interesting, because I think that there's nothing incompatible with astrology and Christianity at all. And then astrology awareness, so many interesting things. Could we talk just briefly about some of these books?
Yes, my eighth house book was the first book. I self-published that book.
Yeah.
And it's based on, years of research that I did on people with planets in the eighth house, and a eighth house astrology group I had, and with working with victims of trauma, as a social worker. I realized that a lot of people that lost loved ones, parents, friends at a young age through death or unexpected trauma or loss, had eighth house planets, and people that that just went through some really serious things at a young age, that made them really strong. So I wrote a book to eighth house people. I call them eighth housers, people that have a lot of Scorpio or a lot of eighth house planets. I wrote a book for them, based on my own experiences as an eighth house person myself, and all of the different stories and lessons learned. And I shared their emails in my book and things they shared with me. And that kind of started my first book. And then the planets through the houses, I self-published it as well. I had a publisher interested, but then they said there's just too many planet books out there. So I self-published that. And then finally, the Sun Signs book, Sun Signs, Houses, and Healing, and the 12th, the Mysteries of the 12th Astrological House books were my first published books with two different publishers. And the Christian astrology book, it's astrology from a Christian perspective. I wrote a series of articles for about.com years ago. They had reached out to me and saw that I was a Christian astrologer and wanted to know more. And so I wrote a series of articles, and they were out there on the web for a long time. And I thought, I'm going to put them into a Kindle book. So I just put all my articles in there, and all my research for many years was about astrology in the Bible, and how astrology is throughout the Bible. It's throughout ancient culture, and it is part of religion in many ways. And it was taken away from religion, just I think to hide the knowledge of how amazing of a tool it is to help us understand others and ourselves. But even in the book of Genesis, God talks about he created the seasons and the signs and the years, and that's tropical astrology. The reason Western astrology works, it never changes, is it's based on the seasons of the year, and the cardinal signs that start the seasons, and it's always accurate. It never changes. And even in the book of the New Testament, and in the book of Revelation, and in one of the other books, the disciples asked Jesus, when will we know you'll return? He said, follow the man with the alabaster jar in the house he dwells. Well, that's the sign and symbol of Aquarius, the water bearer. And we are getting ready to go, and we are in the age of Aquarius, I believe, or we're going to be in it very soon. During Christianity, we were in the age of Pisces, which was the fish. That's the symbol of Christianity, the fishes, right? Pisces is the two fish. And Aquarius is the age of Aquarius, like the song Dawning of the Age of Aquarius. We are in the age of Aquarius, which is technology, science, innovation, space travel, Zoom, right? Doing training over, working from like this, right? And look what happened in our society the past couple of years. So he warned them, and he said, there will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars upon my return. And then it's really cool too, in the book of Revelation, the fixed signs of the zodiac, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. The symbols are throughout churches throughout the world. I've seen them in Europe, and here in St. Louis, Missouri, in the St. Louis Cathedral, I'm looking, and there's, Jesus on the cross, and there's the 4 fixed signs of the astrology zodiac in the church. So you tell me why people don't think astrology is connected to religion and spirituality. I always think.
I've also heard that the 12 apostles are the 12 zodiac signs.
Yes. The personality traits of the 12 apostles, as well as the 12 sons of Jacob. And they used to have the astrological symbols were on the symbols were on the money in Jerusalem, on the floor of the synagogues. The ancient Kabbalah, just astrology is connected to that and goes back ancient times. Even Native Americans, studied the stars and had different names for them. But I believe that God created astrology. He created the planets, the stars, the solar systems. He created us. He created everything. So that's why it's energy. Everything is energy.
Absolutely.
And that's why I believe it works. That's how I explain why it works.
Got to set up a system for us to know more things about ourselves and put it out there for all to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I kind of see the stars as the internet of the day. It's like you want to find out some information, look in the sky. They didn't have anything else, right? That's where all the information was.
Yeah. Yeah. When Jesus was born, they followed the star. And a lot of things, astronomy and astrology, the connection there, there's just so much to it. And I think some people, until they really talk to me or read my book or get to know me, and I explain things to them, some people think, oh, it's hocus pocus or it's weird, but then they're like, how did you know that? Like, that is like exactly me. And I mean, very specific things that I see in someone's chart that it's not in a book. It's just because of all of the thousands of people I've met and research that I've done on these aspects and these energies and these placements and houses and signs. And they're like, that is true. Like they almost the point where they want to read my book because they don't understand how I knew certain things. It's because it's a science. It's accurate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's measurable and it's repeatable.
Yeah. It's like the Myers-Briggs. It's like the 4 lenses, the 4 colors, orange, gold, blue, or green. I'm trained in that at work. So, I would train, people, and every team building, we would do the 4 lenses or true colors. And those 4 colors are the 4 elements in astrology.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, Carmen, it has been fascinating talking with you. The website is 8and12houses.com, where you can find all of Carmen's books. Is there anything that you feel we've not talked about that you think is interesting or important to mention?
No, I think that's good. And I do have a new website. I do have another website.
Exciting.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's CarmenTurnerSchott.com.
CarmenTurnerSchott.com. I will put that in the show notes.
Thank you.
You'll have the link right there. Fantastic. Well, we will definitely be talking again. I know that.
Thank you.
And
yes.
that you're a fellow Missouri girl.
Yes.
So, yeah. Well, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me today, Carmen. It was very enlightening.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Radiate Wellness is an international community of holistic and alternative healers dedicated to helping you create spiritual, energetic, and physical well-being. To learn more about our practitioners, services, classes, and events, or to schedule an appointment, visit us at radiatewellnesscommunity.com.